This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome back to Live Talk with Dr. B. Hill. Um, Unfortunately, she's not with us this week. She had surgery last week, so she's recuperating. So today we have continued guests, Dr. Doug Smith and Travis and Samantha. We won't have Josh today, so we're going to miss him. So hopefully we'll be able to continue the conversation from yesterday. So, Dr. Doug?
Thank you, Chrissy. Hello, Sam. Hello,
Hey.
Travis. Sam.
Hello, sir.
Uh, by the way, I don't want you to feel like that I'm trying to avoid the subject about the possibility of a defective gene being inherited and and leading to developmental delays. Um,
Mhm.
I know we did a number of our podcasts where we raised that subject. Um,
Yes.
but Sam, I got to be honest with you, and this is never going to change. And I think honesty is important in our communications. Sam, I can't have that dialogue every day. It tears me
Oh, I
it tears
know.
it absolutely tears me apart when I
I mean,
think
that's
about.
how I have to live every day. I
I am
I
so
can't think
sorry.
about it. I
I am
can't
so
think about it.
sorry. I I I,
Mainly
I
because
understand
and I-
that. I
and I'm sure every other mother's like that too, and father, that's been through this. I hate to say that because I love my child with all my heart, don't get me wrong, but I have to put that in the back of my mind because I wouldn't be able to go on. I just wouldn't be able to go on, and I think that's just the normal human instinct in me and the mother instinct in me. But I have to put that back because I just can't fathom the thought of it. So I mean, I get it. I'm not at all not.
Now
We got to move on.
we do have to talk about it on a regular basis. It's not something we can ignore. It's not something we can sweep
Right.
on rug. But when we just said what little bit we did say,
Mm.
um, quite honestly, I got hit with a flurry of emails from our people, the contact us forms, and they were so raw. It was just it just tore me apart.
Yeah.
It tore me apart. I will say this, Sam. I will say this. Um, Based on the emails and the messages that I got, our people are looking for some leadership on this subject. And I think, Sam, you're the leader they're looking for. So um, it is important. It's always important that we do the right thing,
Mhm.
the people are scared,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and and what comes through, and I don't. We got to talk about how to handle this. They're already feeling guilt.
Hmm.
They're already feeling guilt, and they're already blaming themselves when
Hmm.
no,
When it's not their fault.
right, and that's a really hard thing. And
And it's hard to get to that point too. It's hard to wrap your brain around that and to tell yourself, especially after so many years of thinking that. You know, it takes what 28 days to make a habit and one to break it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So
I
Sam,
mean,
one option is we set aside a day
mhm,
where we're going to have that discussion.
okay.
For instance, why don't we just say, okay, we're going to open that discussion up again this coming Thursday.
Hey, for any of the new viewers that probably weren't here yesterday or anybody that's recording, could y'all just let everybody know what y'all are talking about?
We are the probably the first people who have begun to go down a pathway whereby we're beginning to ask the question, if a child inherits the damaged gene, if a child inherits the gene where the OPRM1 gene has been methylated and parts of it have probably been turned off, it's a defective gene.
Mhm.
And this is a big relay switch in the nervous system. That's what it is. It's a relay switch. Okay, you got a message coming in this way, you send it that way. It's a relay switch. That's what these receptors are. Okay, and and these are very old and ancient receptors, and hundreds of millions of years old. They're intertwined with life itself. You can find them in practically every. You can find them in every vertebrate. Okay, may not be able to find them in all the bacteria, but you can find them in the vertebrates. And these are. This is this is not something you want to be messing with. And it kind of dawned on us that, hey, these things might probably be involved in brain development. It's old, it's ancient, it's been there forever, may well be involved in brain development. And if the gene's not right, if it's got some abnormalities about it, it raises the possibility that you're going to have some developmental abnormalities. What is commonly referred to as developmental delays or autism. And so we just started doing a little bit of research on our own, and as soon as we scratched the surface, the numbers were just overwhelming. 70% of children who experience withdrawal are diagnosed with a developmental delay by age 5. I mean, that's a horrendous number. And then we looked at since OxyContin was approved in 1996, just since 1996, there's been over a 300% surge in autism. And Sam raised the question, and it's a very valid, very important question. This is a question that Sam's going to live with her entire life. You know, thank you, pharmaceutical companies, for the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you very much. This is something that Sam is going to be living with the rest of her life. Did that gene have an impact and influence on her child? And right now, we don't know. We do not know. Okay. But the anecdotal evidence that we're looking at is some pretty strong circumstantial evidence. Is that a fair assessment, Sam?
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. I can't do this every day. It tears me apart.
We get into it and then it just goes by. I mean, that's what it just gets carried away. So I agree. We do need to set aside a date for that.
Okay. All right, Chrissy. Let's start with the first image. We're gonna shift gears here, and then Sam. What'll happen is after the podcast today, after the show, this will stay in my mind for the rest of the day.
Me too. It does.
Wow.
I mean, I do pretty good most days. I'll put it in the back of my mind, but then whenever like I'll mention it to somebody else, or even hear somebody mention it to me or something, and I've got this lady I've been talking to about what we've been doing, and she'll mention it again or something. The rest of the day, I'm just kind of, like, I mean, I'm still myself and everything, but it'll stay with me.
You know how y'all could do a study to figure out if it's linked later on down the road? You could go and if there was a possible way to monitor the babies that were born addicted or whatever they call it in the hospital, addicted to opioids, if they were considered addicted. What do they call them, doctor?
NAS, neonatal
Okay,
abstinence.
NAS. So if you go and monitor all of those babies, and this would probably take years to do, you'd have to watch these people for
Okay,
years
but see,
and
then
see if
you've
they
got somebody like me that when my baby was born, they didn't do that.
did
They
they
didn't
know right
even,
away. Did they
they
know
didn't,
right away that he had autism, like when he
no.
was yeah,
Mm-mm.
because they didn't, my niece either, they
Yeah,
didn't know until she was like 2 or 3. I can't remember how
yeah,
old she was, but it was
yeah. Bentley was
I know she
probably,
was like 2 or 3, but
he was probably 3. Yeah. Because see,
okay,
they
yeah,
won't
so
do an
they could
autism
monitor
test. They
that.
don't even do a test on them until they're 3 for
Well,
that.
Yeah, see they
But anyway,
we're not
here we go.
really good at leaving this subject. And
We're
before
not.
we leave the subject, let's leave it with this. We're very close to completing the CLIA certification on the adult test,
Yay.
and once that process is put to bed, we will begin pointing the research telescope towards the DNA of the children and seeing if we can figure out a test that has a predictive value on whether or not the child is at risk for developmental delay. It breaks my heart to be involved in that, and I wish I wasn't. But I mean, quite honestly, guys, for all of us, and I know you guys feel the same way. Travis, you wish this had never happened to you. Sam, you wish this had never happened
yes,
to you.
Absolutely.
yes.
And I didn't ask for this either. I mean, we have to do what's right. Okay, we have to do what's right, but I didn't. This is not this isn't something I asked for. I will do it, and I will do my best. Okay, and Travis, you didn't ask for a defective gene. You didn't ask for your DNA to be damaged.
Right.
No,
Sam,
sir.
you didn't ask for your DNA to be damaged. You didn't ask for your child to inherit damaged DNA. It breaks my heart to be looking for to develop a DNA test looking for a risk factor for developmental delay. It absolutely
Right.
breaks my heart, but we have to do it. All right, Chrissy, please. First round of the day.
I'll be honest, I'm trying to pull it up, Dr. Doug. But for some reason the program isn't loading it, and
Oh
I've done
no, they're
yeah,
gonna
I've
make
done
us have this
Yeah, they're
race.
gonna make us
Doug.
talk about this. Hey, maybe that's God's way of saying keep on
They're gonna
talking
make
about
us.
this.
Okay. What about the second slide? I did send them during that little
yeah,
snowstorm we had.
yep. I've got them, I'll be honest, and I am so trying to share them on the screen, but it's like the program itself will not share the screens. So I've tried
Oh
several
no.
times. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Guys, if we
Wow.
do get the graphics, okay, if we do get the graphics, you guys know me, and you're getting to know me better and better. I believe in being grounded. I want to
Hmm.
be grounded. I want to stand on firm ground.
Absolutely.
And what I call standing on firm ground, and Travis has heard me say this a lot, is let's go back to common sense.
Hmm.
Let's just go back to common sense. Okay. And I hope our listeners begin to do the same thing with us, and they learn where the the safe ground is, the terra firma, the place where they can plant their stake in the ground. And so the graphic I wanted to show today was one that I had done, oh my gosh, several years back when we were first working with the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, to get permission to do the study, Travis, that you were involved in. And we had to show what question are we raising. That's the thing you do with research. Okay. And if you're doing research that involves human beings, you've got to be crystal clear. What are you trying to learn?
Hmm.
What good can come of this? Because
Mhm.
quite frankly, if there's nothing to be learned and there's no good that can become of this, you cannot use human subjects. The rules are that strict, and it's a good system. It's a
Right.
good system. So Travis, before you were even offered the opportunity to sign up for that clinical trial, we had gone through a process that took almost a year of laying out the test, and I mean at a level of detail that was almost frustrating, but that's
Wow.
what it takes. And so the question was, Travis, you and everybody else in that clinical trial, do you have a mental health diagnosis called opioid addiction, opioid use disorder, or are you suffering from some type of dysfunction um, in your nervous system? And so what we said was, we can shine some light. That's what scientific studies are supposed to do. Shine some light on some knowledge. We can gain some knowledge here simply by drawing blood. And what we said was, if the blood comes back with normal blood values, Travis, you probably have a mental health disorder called opioid addiction. But if the blood comes back with abnormalities, particularly if the catecholamines, the adrenaline levels were elevated, and that doesn't go along with opioid addiction. That doesn't go along with a mental health diagnosis. That doesn't go along with opioid use disorder. If you've got a mental health, if you're going to apply a mental health diagnosis, the blood work has to be normal. That's kind of the definition of a mental health diagnosis. You check for everything else was okay. Well, it must be a mental health issue. Okay, so when we checked the blood levels on our people, that added scientific evidence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Well, let me ask my favorite question. In your opinion, Travis, does that fall in the category of common sense?
Yes, to me it does. Yeah, of course. I mean,
Same.
it's a no-brainer.
Same thing. Yeah.
All right. Walk me through your thoughts. I'm curious your thoughts about because quite frankly, 2 years ago, you would not have viewed it that way. But now that we have the results, you have the opportunity to view it a different way. Walk me through that process of how you have learned from the science.
Do you want to
Go
go
ahead,
first,
Sam.
Travis?
Yeah, go ahead,
I'll
Sam.
let
Yeah,
you go.
ladies first.
Well, I mean, my thought process was, all this time I've been saying it was my fault because it was my choice. It was my choice. And I was trying to convince myself that it was my choice when I knew I didn't have a choice. But when I finally got with this program and met you, Dr. Doug, and started seeing the actual proof in front of me that, hey, somebody was finally smart enough to step up and say, here it is, that it didn't really take any convincing. I mean, I was already convinced. I already knew I didn't have a choice. Now I had proof. Now I kind of, there, here it is. I'm finally seeing it. Now is everybody else's chance to see it, because I think probably everybody else is going to be this way too. They knew it. It was just everybody else telling them different. You know, so they were trying, I guess, kind of like myself. I was trying to convince myself that, well, it was my choice, it was my fault. I knew that what I was doing, I didn't have to do it, but all along I knew that I didn't have a choice. And now I finally was seeing somebody else that was thinking like I was, and there it is in black and white, you know. So that was my thought process on it. I mean, I was excited that I finally got to see it, and knew I wasn't crazy, and knew that me against the world didn't sound all crazy.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Sam. So
I mean,
this is how I felt when I was going through that. So basically, you know, some people would tell me the same thing. It's your
mm,
choice. You have a choice. But the close family members like my mother, my my wife for sure, like the ones that had saw me sick, dope
mhm,
sick, or you would call it dope sick. That's what
yeah,
most people would call it, dope sick.
yeah,
So the people that had seen me sick and withdrawing, they I don't think they thought I had a choice either. Like after seeing what they saw, like I don't think they'll ever forget it. My wife told me, she's like, I'll never forget it. Even when I was sick, when I was doing the trials, she said, I'll never forget that. But where am I going with this? I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this the right way.
You're doing
So
great. You're doing great.
some people would tell me that I had a choice, but I really didn't. Now my wife
mhm,
and my mother knew because they saw me withdrawing. Uh, Trying to think about where I'm going with this. Anyways, they I always knew in the back of my mind something else was going on. I had a
right.
problem. I don't know if it was my pride or if it was my willpower, but I did try
It
to
was
go
your
get
common
help
sense.
somewhere else. I did try to go to a clinic and go get help when I initially tried to go get some help. But the problem I had there, they were trying to make me admit that mentally something was wrong with me. They were trying to make me
Mm,
admit that I'm a drug addict, and I didn't feel comfortable saying that. I don't know. I felt
right.
weird in the group sessions. I felt weird with the things they were talking about. I didn't feel okay with saying mentally something's wrong with me. I have a mental,
Mhm,
problem because I didn't feel like that. I knew that, I
mhm.
tried to stop taking this medication after a couple of months. I tried to come off cold turkey, and I knew that I got
And you
deadly sick.
couldn't.
And I knew that I had no choice because if I didn't take this medicine, I would be deadly sick. So in the back of my mind, I always felt there was something else going on, but I just didn't know
Mhm,
what because I'm not a doctor or a scientist.
right.
So when this test came around and I saw those catecholamines and I saw what was going on, and it was actually explained to me what was going on, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is what I have been missing this whole time.
Mhm,
This is the answer to everything that I've been going through. This is it. It's not what they're saying. This is it. It just makes more
mhm,
sense to me. And like Dr. Smith says all the time, it's common sense. It's, it, if it's yellow, it's probably yellow. You understand what I'm saying? 1 + 1 is
Yeah.
2. It just made sense to me. The math was mathing, and it just, like I said, it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh my goodness, this is
Yep.
what's going on. Like, I mean, it just, and even like my panic attacks that we've talked about, or we call them panic attacks. Me and Josh made a name for them. It was methylate. What was a methylated adrenaline attacks? I think that's what we
Yeah.
said, if I'm not mistaken. So, we made that word up, but all that just made sense. And then there's all this science backing up everything that I've been
hmm
going through, everything that I'm still currently going through. Like, it just all makes sense. So that's where
I
I was
think
at.
I think the only like the difference between me and you, Travis, is you say, your family was there for you. And don't get me wrong, I have a great support system. None of them are on drugs, none of them have ever done drugs. So they're the ones that's going to keep me grounded. But at that same time, this whole time that I was going through this, the first opioid I ever took, I got legal from my doctor when I had surgery. So, that was okay with them because I had got it from a doctor and it was okay. But then when it got to the point where I had a problem, that's when they started seeing it as it was my choice. It was my fault. It was my choice. So when you say that you know, it was some people were telling you that, and except for the ones that had seen you really sick, they seen me really sick. They still told me that. So I think for a lot of time I held a lot of resentment to them. But then eventually it got to I never went to a rehab. I never went and got help because in my mind that's how strong I felt about something else. Something's not right. There was a reason that I would not go to a rehab. And especially when I went to prison, I thought this is my rehab. And I mean, I guess God knows what needs to be done because thankfully that was the best place I could have been at the best time. I took classes that I needed to take. I probably done more there than I probably would have done at a rehab, just because in the back of my mind, I was still telling myself that there was something else going on that a rehab couldn't help, you know. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that it did work out that way. And, as far as them, I know that they may not see it different yet, but they're starting to think a different way because of how much talking I've been doing about all this research. So I know they're starting to look things up now. I know they're starting to think about it more anyway. And when I get to show them in black and white, it really will make sense. So I know they're starting to at least think about it more. I don't know that they're thinking different yet, but they will one day. And that's the
Once you
way
have your catecholamine, Sam, and once you can
that's what
show
I'm
them
saying.
all
Yeah.
three of the adrenaline levels, the
Right.
the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, and the dopamine,
hmm
and you can actually explain to them, listen, these are,
Yeah.
if yours come back and they're abnormal, which I'm 100, I think they
But I,
will
I,
for sure.
Absolutely.
hang
So,
on.
Yeah.
We're only going to run Sam's DNA. We're not running her catecholamines.
Yeah.
oh, you're not doing that. You're just doing the DNA. That's right. I
Well,
forgot
Yeah.
about that.
we called an emergency halt to that clinical trial.
hmm
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
By,
Which
I
I
forgot it
think,
was different.
by
yeah.
the very definition, we can never do that again.
Yeah, even so, but with the DNA test, you'll be
Yeah,
able to
the
explain to
DNA is
them
enough.
and
Which
show
which
them
hope
on paper, this is what's
which
going
hopefully is
on.
getting mailed out
Right.
Thursday.
Yeah, I mean the methylation, the receptors in the DNA, the way that they're all abnormal. I mean,
hmm
it's science.
Yeah.
You can't fight science. You can't argue with the
Right.
science. I mean,
Exactly.
it's proof in living color. I mean, and people can't stir away from that for so long. And if they hear
Yeah.
everybody talking about it, because
hmm
eventually everyone will be talking about this.
Everybody will be. Yes.
This is gonna change everything. This is gonna
Yeah.
I think it's gonna save the world on this opioid crisis. I really think it will.
Absolutely.
Like
I really do.
it'll be a good starting point to actually get some things
Can't hear you.
changed. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh,
No,
Miss Chrissy,
Chrissy was
Miss
trying to
Chrissy, your
talk and
microphone's off.
so I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Go
What?
ahead. I was listening. Yeah.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I
I
thought you
was
were
just
saying
making
something.
comments. Well, I was
Oh,
just
oh,
making
okay.
comments to myself, thinking,
Oh,
because I do have family members that are
yeah.
relatable. I haven't
Absolutely.
personally gone through it, but I definitely got a
I
few
don't.
family members. Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, in all my years, I don't think I've ever talked to anybody in this world that I have come across that hasn't either experienced it themselves or has a family member, someone very, very close to them that has went through this. So,
Mhm.
Oh
it
yeah.
affects the world, the world.
Yes.
So, I
It took
mean,
my
it
it
is,
took my I'll never forgive that. It took my cousin. I don't have any brothers, and he was my older cousin, and he was in essence my big brother, and it took
yeah,
him.
yeah,
I'm so sorry for your loss, sir.
I still feel it.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
parents
everybody. I'm
his parents never
so
recovered.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
absolutely. My brother, I was telling y'all about my brother here a while back, but, I can't imagine what that's like on a parent. I mean, I went through a miscarriage, but that's not the same to me as having a 16-year-old that suddenly is taken away from you, and my
True.
mom and dad both now are passed, but I never understood how they done it, I mean, it's just it affects everybody different, and I know everybody grieves different, but to have a child that's just suddenly taken away from you, and then now to know why
Right.
is just even more unfathomable.
It's
So, I mean, I just
heartbreaking.
can't imagine.
I I
Heartbreaking.
I don't like to say the word revenge, and I don't like to use that word in.
Reparation. We'll call it
But
reparation.
um,
Reparation.
I'm much more comfortable with the word justice. But
Justice.
but
Yeah.
Yeah,
but when I'm alone and by myself, and I'm trying to find that dividing line between revenge and justice, um,
hard to do.
it's a blur. It's a blur. We are
Yeah,
going to be the sword that is going to move forward. Um, no matter what happens now, they could put a bullet in the back of my head, and you guys would still move forward. Kind of hope they
absolutely.
don't. Kind of hope they don't. Rather they didn't. But
I mean, me
we're
too.
at a, we're at a point now where
Now
this
you
is
got
going.
me looking out your windows.
Now I know. Now, there's a lot of money involved here, and we're, we're stirring a big pot. By the way, along those lines, um, we do have a lawyer that's interested in talking to us about the class action lawsuit. Everybody
That's
else
great.
turned us
Yes.
down. As soon as you say the word or the words Johnson and Johnson,
Mhm.
Really. Everybody's
click,
scared of them.
click,
Wow.
yeah,
They're
That's
probably all
crazy.
scared of them. They probably have so many people on their payroll that they're giving hush money to. It's not even funny. That's a powerful force right there, Johnson and Johnson. And I'm sorry to
no
say
lawyer,
this, that company is a demon to me.
yeah,
Is
Yeah,
a demon.
absolutely.
yeah,
If you
yeah. They
Sam, do
no
some
lawyer.
research on them. It's
Well,
it's
I have.
atrocious. It's
I have.
atrocious. Atrocious. You
I
won't
have.
Now
believe.
I'll tell you
You
this, and
won't
we're
be
going to
able
run.
to fathom it.
I will tell you this. We're going to run out of time here. This is going to be interesting. There, I love the lawyer. She is a dynamo. She is a very
It's a
powerful person.
woman lawyer too. Yes,
Yes.
they're the best
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
They are the
Well,
best ones.
we did it. We she very few people know this, but we had a little issue come at us from yet another medical board. It was ridiculous. This lawyer handled it and just squashed it,
Wow.
just put it to bed,
Dang.
and I
Wow.
loved it. And Travis, that's one thing you and I share in common. We both love winning. Yes, we do. And
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I like to
You
win.
don't.
I like to fight for right things too, and I feel like we're fighting for something right
Mhm.
here. I just want to add
so
that.
what she's going to do is, and this is the last thing I'm going to say today. We're going to run out of time, but what she's going to do is she's going to come back and give us what the retainer will be. Okay, and I guarantee you, that number is going to be bigger than a house because
Woo!
the only way they're going to take this case is if they've got enough gunpowder in the chest
Mhm.
to outlast Johnson and Johnson, and that will be a
Right.
long process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, once once that happens, once we have a number, then it's just a matter of us raising the money to get to that number, and we can talk about that. Uh, Sam, real quick before we end here today, Chrissy's going to end the show here.
Mhm.
What if we told people that Thursday would be our day to talk about the children? Is
Sounds
Thursday
good.
an okay day for you?
It's fine with me.
Okay, and then if you
Fine with
can't
me.
make Thursday show, let us know ahead of time so we can
I
tell people.
will. Yeah,
Because
Thursday's fine.
I can't do it every day. It tears
Yeah,
me apart. It
yeah,
it weighs very heavy on me. But
yeah,
at the
I
same,
agree.
we have to do it. So
I agree.
we will make it our Thursdays. Travis, you okay with that?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. Yeah, that's awesome. I do have one question. If it, I had two parents of friends of mine that wanted me to see if I could share their photos on one of our shows. It's up to you. I will. I don't know. I told her I didn't know I'd have to talk to y'all first, but I will tell you this. In the pictures, they're both brain dead, and they're both in the hospital beds in ICU, and they both passed away from opioid overdose. Uh, so they were sold fake pain pills that had fentanyl in it, and they did not know they had fentanyl in it, and they both passed away. Now these were two different people at two separate times, but the same thing happened to both of them. They bought
Mm.
30 milligram blue. Uh, what is it? It's been so long now. They call them
Rock,
Roxy's in the street, but what is it's
Rock,
oxycodone? Yeah,
Let's
oxycodone. Yeah,
put
it's been
on.
so long. Sorry, I almost forgot. So it's 30 milligram oxycodone, but you know they got the fake ones that people were stamping in the house with fentanyl, and it killed them. And I
Mm.
said I'd ask you and see what you thought about that.
Dr. B, Dr. B has to give that authority.
Okay, well I'll call her and talk to her about it and see what she wants. So, but I just wanted to bring that up because it was something that was asked of me. It was actually last week. I just forgot to mention it.
And I do not have Sam's number. I want to send her a text. Sam, my number is 980-201-1073. And
I,
send me a
I
text.
I'll send it to you, Sam. I'll send it to you,
Okay.
Sam.
I was gonna
Okay.
say because I don't
Yeah, I
remember.
got
Okay.
you. I'll send it to
All
you.
right,
That way
with that
you can
being
call it.
said, we need to finish
Or you
this.
can send mine, whichever
Thank
one.
you so much, guys, for joining us again today. Always informative information. So thank you for joining us. Live Talk with Dr. B. Hill every Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 1. Y'all have a
See you
blessed
Thanks,
day.
guys. Happy
tomorrow.
holidays.